Title: Shadows over Hawthorne. Episode 1. The First Thread. The sun struggled to pierce through the thick mist draped over the small town of Hawthorne. Detective Elliot Graves stood outside the Black Swan Tavern, his breath forming small clouds in the chill air. The tavern looked innocent enough, but Hawthorne had a way of masking darkness under its charm. Inside, the air was thick with the aroma of strong tea and aged wood. The bartender, a burly man with calloused hands, gave Elliot a knowing glance. "Morning, Detective Graves. Usual tea?" the man asked, his voice gruff but familiar. "Not today," Elliot replied, distracted. "I'm looking into those oddities in Old Greaves Wood. Locals said they heard screams last night." The bartender set down a mug he'd been drying and leaned in. "Oddities? That's a way to put it. Folks have been avoiding that patch of woods for years now. Ghost tales and whatnot." "We're not looking for ghosts," Elliot said firmly. "This is someone real. Someone calculated." A glint of anguish flickered in his green eyes, quickly masked as he turned away. The barkeep seemed ready to ask more, but thought better of it. Later that morning, Elliot paced through the edge of Old Greaves Wood. The forest felt otherworldly, its gnarled branches clawing at the pale sky. The crunch of leaves underfoot seemed deafening in the eerie stillness. Then his instincts sharpened. There, half hidden among twisted roots, lay a makeshift grave. Heart-pounding, Elliot crouched down. The victim was a young man, perhaps in his early 20s. His body bore the same cruel marks as others in the series of murders, a ritualistic precision that made Elliot's stomach churn. In the victim's hand was a torn scrap of silk, dark red, vivid against the lifeless pallor. Elliot's breath caught. It looked hauntingly familiar. Just like the handkerchief his fiancée had been holding the night he clenched his jaw, forcing the memory away. This wasn't about her. Not yet. He forced his focus back to the present, though the connection burned in his chest like fire. Hours later, in the dim quiet of the constabulary, Elliot studied the evidence. Shadows from the flickering gaslight danced on the walls, pressing in on him. His pen paused mid-note, as a loud knock echoed through the room. "Come in," he said. An older man entered, his figure bent by years of labor. His darting eyes betrayed a deep unease. "Detective Graves," the man began, his voice trembling. "You should leave that case alone. My nephew, he knew something about those murders. Tried to dig where he shouldn't have. He's gone now." "Gone?" Elliot asked sharply, though he suspected the answer, like the others. The man's fingers trembled as he clasped his cap. "Please, lad, whatever you do, don't trust everyone around here. Hawthorne, it's a place with secrets best left buried." The words hung in the air long after the man left. Elliot tapped his pen absently on the table, his mind spinning. He'd seen desperation before, but this warning carried something deeper. Genuine fear. That night, Elliot found sleep impossible. He wandered the quiet streets of Hawthorne, his steps echoing off cobblestones slick with dew. Gas lamps flickered, their light casting long, jagged shadows across ancient stone walls. Then he stopped. Near the edge of the woods, a figure moved, slight, quick, and gone before he could make it out clearly. Elliot's breath quickened as he cautiously approached. The wind whispered through the trees, and the crunch of his boots seemed deafening. The figure was nowhere to be seen. As Elliot stood beneath the gnarled oaks, a thought chilled him to the core. This killer wasn't just flesh and blood. He was a ghost in the town's history. And ghosts, Elliot knew, always had unfinished business. So begins the first thread of Hawthorne's deadly tapestry. What secrets lie buried in this shadowed town? And how close will Elliot come to the truth? Or to the killer who shattered his world? The shadows hold the answers, but they do not give them easily.